In this video, we're going to move on from the map and we're going to look at the different ward charts to explain how you might interpret them to help you plan your campaign. Start with the age plot chart. So this gives you a bit of a description of the different age groups and what are the most common age groups and genders in your ward. So in this ward we're looking at, which is Kirrup ward in Whittlesea, we sort of see two wide bits around the late 30s, early 40s mark. We've got a big shape, um, as well as a big shape down here for children. So this sort of tells us that this ward is a bit of a younger family type profile. Kind of makes sense that if you go back to the map, you can kind of see this is a bit of an urban fringe, new housing area type place. So that sort of makes sense. This might just be confirming things you already know for your ward, but it might be helpful to give you a bit of a sense to sort of see exactly how many potential voters you've got at each age group, if that sort of helps you shape your messaging for your campaign. For this ward, it sort of looks like we've got many more older women who are sort of 50 plus, 60 plus than men. That's a bit unique. But maybe more younger men, younger than 30, but older than 20 than women. So anyway, that's the age plot. Next, let's move on to some of the cultural diversity type plots. So we might start with the ancestry chart. This could be helpful to give you a bit of a sense of how many residents in your ward might have English as a second language, or what language might they speak, or any other sort of cultural considerations. So this comes from the Australian census data, but it's all been grouped up to the level of each ward. So the first thing we see here is a very big chunk called Other, uh, which kind of shows that this is a bit of a multicultural ward because of this 29%, there's a whole mixture of many kinds of other cultures, all making this up. And of the other significant ones that are more than 5%, we've got, interesting not stated, but let's see, Macedonian, Italian, English, Indian, and Australian. So in this case, it looks like the majority of this ward might actually speak English as a second language. Very happily diverse ward here. And the other culturally sort of diversity type chart is this one. We'll jump over here, religious affiliations. So this might give a bit of a sense of main religions, different sort of values or traditions that might be held in your ward. So we see here that we've got the largest chunk here is Christianity. Next largest is Islam. No religion, so in the minority here. Hinduism. So yeah, a nice sort of mix. Other parts of Australia, we might sort of find that the largest chunk is non-religious, but in this sort of case, it's most of the residents identify as some kind of religion. Great. Let's look at some of the other ones now. What have we got over here? We've got housing tenure type. This could be interesting for you to get a bit of a sense of where your residents are economically. With the current cost of living issues, it could be helpful to sort of see how many residents might be dealing with a mortgage and high interest rates, how many are renting, how many might be a little bit more secure because they're owning outright. So the way to look at these types of charts is the size of the blue bar. It gives you a bit of a comparison in your ward of what's the most common. So in this ward, the far most common is that households typically are owned with a mortgage. Next by renting, owned outright, and then so on and so forth. But then these dots that you can sort of see here help you compare what is the average either for your municipality or for the state of Victoria. So, for instance, this particular ward has a much lower homes owned outright than the Whittlesea average. This might be because this is a new homeowner area that the homes haven't been around as long and people are earlier in their mortgage. And then further south in the municipality or the established suburbs that people might be owning outright. But that could give you some extra insight as well of seeing what is the unique situations economically of your ward versus where people might typically be at, more broadly in society. Now let's jump across to the next one. This is motor vehicle ownership. Again, this might sort of reflect things like connectedness to public transport, local traffic issues, things like that. That could be local parking issues in your municipality. Things like that could be useful insight for you of how many vehicles is typical for each household in your municipality and how that compares to the municipality and Victorian average. The next one here is family composition. So you get a bit of a sense of whether the young families, couples with no children, might be planning children, maybe they're interested in maternal health care, things like that. Next, we've got students. So this gives you a bit of a sense of how many students are in your municipality, and of the students, what sort of stage of their education are they at? Primary school, preschool, secondary college. Gives you a bit of a sense of what's going on in the families, their priorities in your institutions, possibly public transport, things like that. Could be helpful to know. And that's the last one. So I hope you found this useful.